What's going on, everyone? So, I believe, again, could be wrong, it's just my thoughts, but I believe that as we get closer to training camp, I do think you're going to start seeing the trade rumors and just players that were already being discussed as available now kind of coming to light. And you are seeing that a little bit, right? There was a report about Robert Williams, and you're starting to see a little more kind of trade information being thrown out. Recently, there was a report published by Eric Pincus, which we're going to dive into here in a moment. But I do think as you move closer to training camp, which is like at beginning of October, I think it's like October 4th or something like that for most teams, 3rd for most teams. I think you're going to, so basically in the next 2 weeks, start hearing teams go, okay, like let's explore again. Does that mean trades are going to get done? Probably not. I mean, trades haven't gotten done already, but I do think that a lot of prices are going to come down, but it depends on how significant, right? For example, Jeremy Grant, right? Lakers want Jeremy Grant. The Portland Trail Blazers want 2 firsts for Jeremy Grant. They're not getting 2 firsts for Jeremy Grant. Now, if they go from 2 firsts to 1 first, then that deal might get done. Probably does get done, right? But if they go, okay, fine, we want 2 unprotected firsts. Okay, instead of 2 unprotected firsts, we want 1 unprotected first and 1 protected first, or 2 unprotected firsts, right? Yes, they dropped their price, but they don't really drop it enough to where it still makes sense, right? They dropped it, like they just kind of like, we still getting 2 firsts, right? So I think in that scenario, no, the Lakers don't get a deal done, no trades end up happening, and you're kind of, standing pat going into the training camp. But I do expect if a deal does come to light, I do think Rob Pelinka is going to make that move. I mean, he's talked about it. He's looked for it. Again, it takes 2 teams to make a trade, right? We'd all love for Rob Pelinka to just call, hey, Jeremy Grant, we're giving you this, and this, and 2 seconds. Click, and then now the deal gets done. Just doesn't work like that, though, right? Like, you're going back and forth, you're having negotiations, teams have their price high, but I do think you're going to have teams that are going to go, we prefer, like Portland, stick with them as an example, are going to go, we prefer not to go into the season with Jeremy Grant, right? Which talks about Robert Williams being available and likely traded at some point this season, right? Makes sense. They have Ayton, they have Clegan. It's like, okay, it'd be best in our best interest not to go into training camp and then the season with a center that we're probably never going to play and a small forward, power forward that is taking minutes from our young guys. One of the guys you just traded from Washington, right? So it's just like you can see the idea of like, hey, like we should kind of get back into negotiations and conversations. Again, that doesn't mean something will get done. I do think once you get and move into the trade deadline, I do think then you really have prices drop because I think you're going to have teams that were planning to be good that aren't, that are going to miss the playoffs or miss the play-in or whatever, and they're just like, let's kind of hit the reset button here a little bit. And I think you're going to have teams that want to be bad, that are better than they anticipated, and are like, we need to, we got Cooper Flagg and, several other guys that we could kind of drop down for. And I think that you'll see kind of both sides of that. But again, Eric Pincus did a article in which he basically went over Lakers trade targets and players that the Lakers are going to be going after. Obviously not going to get all of them, but names that, you're going to see linked to the Lakers between now and the trade deadline. Whether they do a trade or not, right? We'll see. And a lot of them is the same usual suspects, right? A lot of them are the same guys. And it's also like the big names, Zach LaVine, who personally is my favorite. I think the Lakers should go make that move. That's just me. I talked about that heavily. But see Trae Young, who, based on reports, Trae is available. Based on reports, like you can get Trae Young, and Atlanta is more than willing to trade for him. It was even talked about that the Spurs basically could have had, they were like, hey, if you want him, here you go, type thing, but no one's really making offers, even the Lakers, right? And the Lakers were heavily attached to Trae for months, and all of a sudden that just went flatline, right? And I get it, right? Trae is not my favorite option. If we didn't have LeBron, I'd be screaming to go get Trae Young, right? Because him and Anthony Davis make a ton of sense, but LeBron don't. Right? That's a little awkward. If it works, if you can figure it out and make it work, then yeah, I think the Lakers would be tough. I think the Lakers would be very good. But it's, to me, if you're going to take that type of risk, you're going to take that type of gamble, I would prefer to go with Zach LaVine, who is going to give you the same type of offensive production as like a third option and just be a much better fit. So I kind of look at that. Another piece is Brandon Ingram. Now, I don't hate the idea of Brandon Ingram. I've talked about this before. And the reason I like Brandon Ingram is because if it works, great. And you can give him a new contract, not a max, by the way, right? You do not give this guy a max contract. But if you can get him, I think Brandon Ingram's going to end up being the first like real big name casualty for the new CBA, right? I think if it wasn't for this new CBA, he would probably get 30 to 35 million a year, right? But now with the new CBA, I think he's probably going to get like 18 to 22 million, right? Because of that. Because again, he's not a number one option. Probably not a number two option, maybe, depending on who your number one option is. As a third option, I think he'd be great. But the question is the fit alongside LeBron and AD. However, I think, now you solve your versatile, sizable wing, and you get a guy that can just go get you a bucket, which would be great, right? Like, I think Brandon Ingram solves a lot of the Lakers' issues. But the biggest thing that I like about Brandon Ingram is if it doesn't work, right? And let's say it's a little clunky, it's a little awkward, which Lakers are probably not winning anything. Like, I still think that they have a puncher's chance, but like, I wouldn't bet on them to win the championship this year. So to me, I think Brandon Ingram gives you a better chance, but also like if it's kind of like, or like, let's say he's like, no, I won't sign for anything less than a max, then you could just let him test free agency and just let him go. And it's just like, good luck to you. Or you could just let him walk, and now you cleared basically your entire deck. Like, sounds pretty good to me, because LeBron could opt out and restructure, and there are several names that make a ton of sense, including potentially Kyrie Irving. Don't really want to get too much into the Kyrie conversation again. We'll worry about that next offseason if that happens, but he could. And the Lakers could clear enough salary to sign Kyrie and then some, and LeBron could restructure his contract, all by going and trading for Brandon Ingram by giving up basically all your long-term salary pieces. Or Steph Curry, right? Steph is a guy that is linked and potentially could be traded next offseason, right? So you look at that, and it's like, okay, well, we could clear enough to get way under the first apron. LeBron could restructure his contract. We could literally go trade for Steph Curry, and then LeBron could take whatever's left. And now you got Steph, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, plus, Max Christie, Jared Vanderbilt, if you want to keep him, right? Like, you're good. You're in good shape, right? So, to me, Brandon Ingram not only gives you the upside potential now, but also could give you the upside potential future-wise if it does work and you do re-sign him, or give you the financial flexibility, right? Also, if you can get Brandon Ingram to sign for like $18 million, LeBron can restructure his contract, and you can still go get another big piece, right? Like, so again, there's ways to kind of work it around. So I do like, Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine. Obviously, the other names are what we've seen, like Jeremy Grant, Cam Johnson, right? Like the guys that have been linked, Wendell Carter Jr., right? The guys that have been linked to Lakers, again, like Eric Pincus just basically gave us all the guys that we've had linked, but also gave, like alternatives, right? So instead of like Jeremy Grant or Robert Williams III, Memphis, they have going after Marcus Smart. I don't hate that idea. Defensively, point of attack, right? And when Marcus Smart is on, he's fun to watch, right? My problem with Marcus Smart is like, and look, I love Marcus Smart. I wanted the Lakers to get Marcus Smart back when he was available, right? That was what Randall's draft, right? But he got taken right before. However, my problem with Marcus Smart is he can kind of get a little carried away, right? Start shot chucking, and his shot selection at times is awful. And at times he can just like shoot you out of a game. And it's just so, I don't know, like, I like if we got Marcus Smart, I wouldn't hate it, right? The alternative that they had, that Eric has listed, is Luke Kennard, which give you a shooter. But if Dalton Connect works out, I think Luke Kennard kind of doesn't make as much. I mean, you can never have too much shooting, but still, And then, of course, Walker Kessler, Colin Sexton, which is something I've talked about heavily. I actually really like the idea of like, hey, we'll take Colin Sexton if you give us Walker Kessler. And the reason I'm doing this quote thing is because we could use Walker Kessler or Colin Sexton. Obviously, we could use Walker Kessler. We need a center. But we could also use Colin Sexton, right? D'Lo, in my opinion, is better. But Colin Sexton gives you things that D'Lo doesn't, while still giving you similarities to D'Lo. Still gives you the 40% three-point shooting on good volume, but he gives you more explosiveness, more athleticism. When he's locked in and engaged and bought in defensively, he's better, much better defender. He's actually a very good defender when he's bought in, locked in, and engaged. The problem is getting him to do that. But if you can get him to do that, I really like Colin Sexton. So if you could work it out where you get Colin Sexton and a Walker Kessler, and then if you could go get like a Cam Johnson or something like that, now I think the Lakers, now you're talking championship, in my opinion, because now you got your big physical center that can do multiple things, even showing the ability to stretch the floor, right? The good thing, and the reason I really wanted to talk about this and go over all these options, is because it highlights and shows that there is a lot out there. Obviously, right now, again, prices are incredibly high. I do believe at some point, some team is going to drop that price. Utah, for example, when we made the trade, right? We traded Russell Westbrook. Originally, it was, we want both your firsts. We're not giving you Jared Vanderbilt, right? You can have, I think it was Mike Conley, Rudy Gay, and Malik Beasley. And you had to give us both firsts unprotected. Then it dropped to, okay, same three guys, no Jared Vanderbilt, and we'll do one protected, one non-protected. And then lo and behold, you got to the trade deadline, and they were able to do the same trade with Jared Vanderbilt, also were able to get D'Angelo Russell, and only had to give up one protected first. Price went from here to boom, right? Like, I think you'll get another one, maybe two of those by the trade deadline. The more options there are, the more potential that's out there, the more likely it is a deal gets done. That doesn't mean that it's guaranteed, but more likely that something gets done given the fact that, like, there are so many options. Somebody is going to break. Somebody is going to meet the Lakers' asking price or pay price, right? That's why I really want to talk about this. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yes, like, great options, lots of options? Which is your favorite option? Again, I expect us to start hearing more and more rumors and talks. But again, how do you feel? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.